Why Mexico's war on cartels is impossible to win.
2 decades of modern cartel wars have transformed Mexico's underworld. Criminal syndicates have morphed into heavily armed, militarized units that now control great swathes of Mexican territory. Most of the fentanyl and cocaine entering the US transits through Mexico.
Bro, I wonder what Mexico was like pre-cartel, you know? Like, what was it like before the cartel was what it was today? Was it safe? Was it, I don't know, was it less popular? Because the cartel does, bring a lot of notoriety, good and bad, to Mexico. Like, what was it like there? I'm gonna research that later. Onward.
More than half a century after President Richard Nixon declared the war on drugs,
America's public enemy number one in the United States is drug abuse.
President Donald Trump has turned this metaphorical war into a real one, aggressively targeting what he calls narco-terrorists.
The epicenter of cartel violence is Mexico.
His drug policy has escalated into a direct military campaign to target regimes and the dealers. And now Trump is pressuring Mexico to take on the cartels. So is the war on drugs working, or are the Mexican cartels still calling all the shots? One of the most powerful and violent cartels in Mexico is the Cartel de Jalisco Nueva Generación. For years, their leader, Nemesio Ceguera Cervantes,
El Mencho Way! Estoy El Mencho Way!
Also known as El Mencho, ruled.
Have you guys seen that audio of him talking? He's calling like a Mexican, like a police chief, and he's like, Soy Mencho Way! He's telling him, I'm Mencho, like, leave me the fuck alone, you know what it is. Bro has aura in Mexico.
With an iron fist.
He was known for being very shrewd, very smart, being very brutal when he needed to be, and using violence like a scalpel whenever he needed to.
He emerged really as a very effective CEO of this new cartel. And one of the things he did was he leveraged alliances with other cartels. At the same time, he was sort of totally unabashed about setting up the private army. The Jalisco cartel had very serious weaponry, serious armored vehicles, and totally not shy about showing these off.
He built an empire with an estimated $50 billion in assets. But that all changed.
Damn! Bro, 50 billion. That is insane. 50 billion from freaking moving dope, bro.
On the 22nd of February, 2026. Mexican special forces, backed by US intelligence, fatally wounded El Mencho during a fierce shootout. He died in a helicopter while being transported to Mexico City.
In terms of how the operation actually occurred, we need to understand the bigger backdrop. And the bigger backdrop is that the United States and Mexico have a long history, and there are ebbs and flows to it, but there's a long history of strategic cooperation related to narcos. First and foremost, the United States is oftentimes providing useful intelligence, and then the Mexicans, particularly vetted units, are acting as fugitive apprehension teams.
The Trump administration has been completely clear that it believes a decapitation strategy, i.e. targeting the leaders of these cartels, is a legitimate and effective, it believes, way of reducing their power.
A cutthroat drug cartel is fighting back after its leader was shot and killed today.
Nemesio Ruben Osquera Cervantes.
El Mencho, caught and killed in a dawn raid.
Authorities hoped they had weakened the CJNG, but within hours of El Mencho's death becoming public, cartel operatives and affiliated armed groups launched violent reprisals across multiple states. Gunmen set up roadblocks, firebombed vehicles, and clashed with police across much of Mexico. And with no clear heir to take over the mantle of command, a succession crisis unfolded. What did the joint operation with the US actually achieve? And instead of a reduction in drugs, did it just create a chaotic power vacuum? When the death of their leader was confirmed, the response from the CJNG was instantaneous. Their cartel quickly adopted a scorched earth tactic known as the narcos' revenge.
The CJNG response was pretty visceral. I mean that in the sense that what we saw across the country in more than 20 states, the CJNG effectively put into place narco blockades, set vehicles on fire, shut down critical choke points, in essence to show their response, their disapproval, to try to intimidate the government.
It was giving a message as high profile as it possibly could that you may get the guy in charge of us, but we're bigger than that, and we have a network across this entire country. It's very, very important to remember this was not just a visible revenge in Jalisco state, it was across 20 states across the entire country. So that is alarming for the people of Mexico and the people around the world. You've got to bear in mind this was just a few months before the World Cup was going to be hosted. So it was an absolutely clear strategy to say, we won't be defeated just by the removal of one man.
Once reprisals began to subside, however, thoughts turned to who would assume control in El Mencho's wake. El Mencho left behind a massive empire, but no clear heir. His biological son and natural heir, El Menchito, is currently serving
El Menchito. I see the correlation.
A life sentence in a U.S. prison for drug trafficking, firearms offenses, and orchestrating extensive violence.
Another person in the spotlight has been Mencho's wife, Rosalinda Gonzalez Valencia, the sort of heiress to an important cartel family, seen as a very capable financial operator.
El Mencho's stepson, Juan Carlos Valencia Gonzalez, alias El 03, emerged as the leader.
It's pretty clear that 03 has taken over the organization. I believe he was born in California, and that poses certain privacy difficulties for intelligence gathering, given that he is a U.S. citizen.
For decades, the U.S. and Mexican governments have relied on the kingpin strategy. If you cut off the head of the snake, the body will die. But when a top leader is removed, it triggers three distinct effects. There's the risk that rival organizations could exploit the power vacuum to seize control of territory, shipping routes, and markets.
We've seen a fairly muted response from other cartels in response to this, and that's in part because the cartels that would have been most viable in terms of actually...
What I'm wondering, chat, is if US wanted to come in and fucking fuck them up, we could easily do that. Easily we could wipe them out. But the problem I think that would happen is there'd be civilians that die. I wonder what's just stopping the US from saying, man, fuck this. You guys are killing so much Americans with the dope you're bringing over. We're just going to pull up guns blazing and end this shit. Because we could do that at any given moment, But it comes with some viciousness that I don't know if the US wants to do that with our neighbor, Mexico. And technically our ally as well.
Confronting the CJNG have actually gone into civil war. Specifically, the Sinaloa cartel has gone into civil war since the summer fall of 2024 between factions loyal to the Chapitos, the sons of Chapo Guzman, and Los Mayos, led by the sons of Mayo Zambada.
Instead of collapsing, decapitated cartels can split into smaller, more ruthless splinter factions.
The CJNG has put a successor in place fairly quickly. As a result, there hasn't been internal fragmentation thus far that other cartels could have taken advantage of.
Without El Mencho's central authority, intelligence analysts warn the cartel could violently fracture as commanders turn on each other in a brutal fight for supremacy.
Jalisco's sort of way it was formulated and the way that Mencho ran it means that it survives his demise because it's a franchise. It's like, to use a sort of bad example perhaps, it's like, if you take away the CEO of McDonald's, it doesn't mean that the whole brand collapses. He has spread himself out and sort of given people training effectively about how to run this organization that means that it has survived his own decapitation.
While his death represented a major tactical milestone for President Sheinbaum and U.S. intelligence agencies, it simultaneously thrust Mexico into a precarious new phase of instability.
It is very difficult to predict, but what I have learned in studying Mexico for going on 20 years now in Mexico security issues is that the smartest play is to essentially bet on the status quo to continue. And that is an unfortunate and sad reality, but...
Yeah, I don't know. It's just hard to think that they would ever even stop it, you know? Like, I really think that our U.S. government is somehow profiting off of this as well. They just have to be, because it's like, why has this shit gone on for over 30 fucking years? Well, we could really just end this shit. Like, let's be real here. We could go in there and fuck them up. But, like, man, you know? Like, if the amount of lives that drugs like fentanyl are taking from Americans... Like, if there was a war that killed 150,000 Americans, we'd be like, holy Jesus, let's get in there and fuck who's doing that to us, right? But it's like, Mexico's doing that to us. They're killing Americans in insane amounts. Why are we allowing this? So the fact that we haven't stopped it yet is like, I don't think that it's gonna stop. I really don't. Like this guy's saying, he's an expert, and he's legit just said that this shit's never gonna end.
The status quo is likely to continue. We're likely to continue to have major organized crime issues in Mexico, certainly for the short and medium term.
Shane Baum is facing immense diplomatic pressure from President Trump to take an even harder line against cartels. But when the government successfully kill or capture a cartel leader, violence actually increases and the drug trade gets worse, not better. And as long as the root causes of U.S. drug demand are not addressed, a decentralized network will always adapt to supply it. And it is the everyday civilians who ultimately pay the highest price.
Let's see comments, chat. Let's see what the people here are saying. In other news, water is wet. Everyone talks about the drugs coming into America, but nobody talks about who provides the weapons for the cartels in Mexico. Very true shit, bro. Like, how the fuck are they getting that much shit? And no one talks about how the world banking system launders billions in cartel money. Our biggest institutions facilitate that. Exactly, bro. This shit is not going to happen. Just like the corn industry is never going to die. There's too much money in it. How are we profiting off of it? I don't know. I need to research that. But we're definitely profiting off of it. The CIA, as usual, yes, the most corrupt industry ever. Endless supplies of weapons from the USA to the drug cartels, and 2, endless demand of drugs from USA citizens. Congratulations to drugs for winning the war against the USA. Yep. As long as there is demand, the demand will be fulfilled. You're damn right. Why Mexico's war on cartels impossible to win? Because the US won't stop selling weaponry to cartels and Americans won't stop doing drugs. Bro, it's so crazy. Like, I remember I would say pre-2020, like, the city I grew up in, Tucson, Arizona, it's always been a little ghetto, been bad, bro. And a lot of cities around the US, like, there's always been homelessness, there's been, heroin, alcohol problems, etc. But, like, now, just seeing people slumped over, like, looking like zombies out in the streets, it's wild. Like, this is a pretty new thing. I'd say, like, 2021 is when you started seeing it more common. The zombies. You've always seen the drunks, the crackheads, etc. But now they're looking like straight zombies out there. And it's like, our problem was here, now it feels like it's here. And not only that, but, someone wants to smoke some devil's lettuce, and then it just happens to be laced with some fent. And now you have a 20-year-old who thought he was smoking some grass, and now he's dead because he just OD'd. Like, this is a problem that is happening. And not just devil's lettuce, cocaina, multiple different things out there where people think that they're doing something else, and it's actually laced with some fent that came over from Mexico. And it's killing our youth. If it doesn't kill you, it absolutely wipes your brain away, and now you're just a zombie out there looking like a damn monster on the streets. Like, who you were before is completely foreign now. You're a completely different person. And it's sad, bro. It's sad when you drive around some of these cities across America now, and you're just like, fuck, how did this shit happen? But is it gonna stop? Who knows? We will see.